going on about that issue. You remember the issue we're talking about?
Absolutely. What I was saying is, we don't get the mercy of nepotism to enter the marketplace.
Yeah.
We have to go through all the developmental stages. So when you have a Boris and this phenomenon of Etonians, they have the blessing of all of the bridges being laid before them.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what their pathways are.
Yeah.
So you have your pathways into education, you meet the greatest leadership. You have your pathways into masonry, you have the greatest education. You have your pathways into career. Not only do you have the greatest education, but you also have those who are going to grease the doors to make you enter the halls of power.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Which is why I always say there's no substitute for lived experience. That great wealth of experience, the cumulative wealth of experience going across all of those grassworks organizations and the individuals who've not only started and sustained those organizations, but then those they've trained, which is the legacy. That cumulative power is the power base of our nation. Now, when we recognize that, it's merely about signposting who those organizations and organizational leaders are. That is clarity. So when you think about 2 million people in London, that means there's a great number of organizations that we need to signpost. Now, when you signpost them, we now use digital tools. We use digital CRM tools to manage projects in real time. So if you are one of these regional chairs who are deputies to the national chair, now you understand that CRM software, you work with your deputy, you're now managing all of these local organizations, and just like in any borough, they have the local borough community meeting, which is between the fire brigade, the police, the schools, and the local authority. Our local authority is the monthly ADPAC meeting.
Now there's something about, the selection is done. The people are already there. That's great. And everything is set up and it's running and you're getting regular meetings. The key thing which I have been looking at, how you're going to market APAC, just not just here in the United Kingdom, but abroad as well. How are you marketing it? How are you marketing it? Because I'm looking at the organization as it is, as a whole, and with all the regional office components that will make it up. It's great, and on paper, and reality, it has to be a reality. How do you market
lies
it?
in the personnel.
Yeah.
So you see, with your track record, remember, we live in the digital age.
Yeah.
Even the fact that we can broadcast this message to the masses matters. So everything we've been doing for the past 4 years is already in the world. We already have global delivery partners. The same way that with the African Diaspora Council, with Dr. Louis Tin as the Prime Minister, with Queen Diambi, who introduced me to everybody, the Economic Minister, she's the Health Minister, the Prime Minister, and the Tech Minister, was coming from the understanding of social media. These are great tools. Now, when you look at this in an institutional way, every single activity that we have, we put into the digital stratosphere. Now we're global, aren't we? So you can see the black print happening right in front of you. Now, all you've got to do is reach out to one of the contacts in the website, and now you're actually involved. You're having a real-time conversation with real people, because we don't have the phone lines like you can wait in a 30-minute queue. No, immediately you're conversing with a peer. So if you've got the capability of delivering that on the ground in your territory, well, there's no price for that, because we desire to have international delivery partners. So that is the structure for the charity. That is the structure for the trust, in which we purchase commercial freeholds, because the key ingredient is working as sovereigns. So because we have a sovereign underwriter, all of the trustees and directors have the ability to become sovereigns. Now, as you become a sovereign, you're no longer a citizen.
All right.
That means you're no longer paying tax. You're no longer a citizen within society.
Okay.
Now you sit outside of society like the 1% as a custodian.
Right.
When we understand this internationally, you see, once you understand the rules and regulations, you're no longer breaking the rules.
No, you're not.
Now you create the rules. Then the key is that we set up the sovereign territories inside African nations. So just like you have the City of London and you've got the church, as you set up that sovereign territory and you put a town hall on it, that now acts as its own principality. The key is that enough of us create this web to trap our economics within our own economic circle. You see, you can't work as an individual.
No, you can't.
It has to be an ecosystem.
It's a team. It's a team effort.
So let's put it like this: what is racism? What is racism?
You try to define that.
I'll define it for you.
Yeah.
Racism is a team sport, aggressively played by an offensive team, using business tactics created for warfare to acquire limited resources, whether they're ours on the continent, whether they're ours in their nation. So if racism is a team sport aggressively played by an offensive team, how would we possibly hope to combat racism as individuals? Now, you can circumvent racism by creating your own ecosystem.
Okay.
Because now, you see, the principles of racism are going to have very little effect on you if you're not employed by Europeans, if you don't seek finance from Europeans, if you don't seek education from Europeans, if you can now inform the political process that Europeans operate under based on your numerics and your organizational skills. Because power isn't numeric.
No.
So-called Jews in this country number 246,000 nationally.
Wow.
And we number 2 million in London and 3 million nationally. So we can agree that power isn't numeric. It's organizational. Now they've got exceptional organizational structures.
Okay.
Operated by mediocre people. Our role is to establish
mediocre people,
exceptional
organizational
infrastructures so that any job within our civil service can operate.
Yeah, I can
That's
see.
the game.
I can see how. Now there is a statement here which I read, and it's part of the of what you people are going to do, and it's part of what you plan to do as an organization, APAC as an organization, and part of what the organization wants to achieve is provide coordination, advocacy, lobbying that will enable us to reverse our relationship of dependency on institutionalized Afrophobic and racist society, where we find ourselves uniformly at the bottom of every measuring metric. Metric. We are institutionally we are an institutionally solution body created to create cohesion between diaspora and region of the African Union in order to create cohesion and enable our collective socio-economical growth. How is this going to be achieved? Because if you're going to fight the history of racism, which is partly 500 years old, and you bring in institutions that are practically meant to be racist in a way. This is something which a son who is born here, of an English father, as you also described, the Boris Joshua studied in Eton and so on. The structure of it all is like a culture in Africa, whereby somebody from Eton, somebody from Cambridge, those huge institutions that, they have gone there, they've been institutionalized with their brains in a certain way. And here you are, you're trying to get that out of the way. I look at it, I could give an example like in Africa. Corruption is at the core.
Systemic.
In the blood. Now, If
it's in the DNA.
It's in the DNA. If you have to get it out, you have to get the DNA out. It's attached.
No.
And this is
you don't have to get the DNA out.
Yeah.
What you must do.
Yeah. Because
separate
these statements make sure
from that body. You see, what does a surgeon do when you have cancer? When you have a cyst?
He gets
cancerous cyst.
Yeah, he gets.
What does a surgeon do?
Yeah, he gets that cyst out. He gets it out so that it doesn't infect other parts of the body. Yeah.
So now, Europeans traditionally, on our conscious and subconscious mind, within our consciousness, within our society, have been that cancerous cyst.
Yeah.
So you must separate the body from the cancer.
Yeah.
Which means that the body has to become self-sustaining.
Okay.
From those enzymes that create cancer. You must stand alone.
Yeah.
And do you know why ADPAC is a membership-based organization that we intend to build out to 100,000 national membership? Because at £5 a month, if we build it out to 100,000 membership, that's $500,000 a month to remunerate our national and regional leadership, and also save and use as leverage funds to purchase commercial freeholds, which gives us the autonomy that we've always spoken about. But you've got to know what that looks like practically, right?
Yeah.
It looks like a body of expertise that you pay from inside. How? £5 a month is a micro payment. It's an insurance payment.
Yeah.
What if-ish? And unfortunately, as African people in the diaspora, ish will always happen. So, knowing this, it's only self-preservation to become a member of ADPAC. To one, be able to attend the monthly meetings where you have surgeries with that national and regional expertise. The same way you go and have surgeries with your MP.
Of course,
So now if you have a problem in your school because your child is receiving Afrophobic racism based on even the infraction of their hairstyle, now you can go with an advocate to the school. Immediately. Your rights is quelled. And it's quashed. So it is not our intention to fight racism. That is to engage with the system. It is to circumvent racism by creating our own ecosystem. Which is why the national expertise goes across economics, politics, education, health, housing, media, and the justice system. So for instance, when a young man is murdered by a European young man in a gang of 14 European young men pushed in the river, and the CPS tell you, we don't think it's in the public interest to prosecute. And immediately we can raise 10,000 for a private prosecution, just to instigate a private prosecution, and then raise another 30 grand for a case. We do that. We tell you how the justice is going to play out. You don't tell us. So I'm going to give you another equation. So after 70 years of the Windrush generation being in the United Kingdom, we should have been celebrating 70 years of the Windrush generation. No. They created the hostile environment just to let us know the state of the union. And then they kidnapped and deported those who built this barren little island. And then the government said, we stand as the defendant. And the defendant tells you when you're going to turn up, how much we're capping the payments at, who's going to receive them, how they're going to receive them, when they're going to receive them. There's a meeting here, there's a meeting here, it's at this time, it's in this location. No. Institutionally, there should be a body that says,
no, you should do this,
we're going to create a joint civil litigation with the plaintiffs who are the victims of that hostile environment. You are the defendant, the government. Javid made the mistake of mentioning a potential 200 million. You're bad. As a body, We merely need to find an insurance underwriter who will underwrite the case of a joint civil litigation.
And that's the
having that clarity, now we can pay our solicitors to start the case and tell you when you're going to turn up, what time you're going to turn up, what location you're going to turn up in your courts, because you're a human rights abuser. Now, based on our money, our agenda and our advocacy, we are going to sue you, the government, on behalf of the plaintiffs. You are the defendant. You cannot be the rapist and the prosecutor
at the same time.
This is a conflict of interest. The entire point of an ADPAC is that we hold you accountable, and you will be held accountable. But you see, a body, when they release a national letter to the government, you are being sued in a joint civil litigation underwritten by this insurance company who will pay our solicitors. And it is inevitable that we will win.
Obviously.
And the plaintiffs will get what they're entitled to for pain and suffering, loss of earnings, loss of property, loss. We make that decision. So the whole point of an ADPAC is that we are a body which is representative of African diaspora people, not asking you. So you see the difference between fighting racism and circumventing it based on autonomy. Is this 21st century Garveyism? It's the epitome of it.
Reporting Galvanism. Now, there's something else if we have to go back to the African continent. The African Union is aware of the regions of Africa, as you described at the very beginning. Obviously, the north, south, east, central, and so on. And then the sixth region, which is the diaspora, which obviously. And there is a lot of money, as you're aware, going to Africa from the diaspora.
Remittances huge.
You're looking at
billions.
4 to 5 billion a year. Nigeria alone probably take $1 billion or two. Ghana is another one, and obviously Uganda and so on. Now, the African Union is aware of this. Now, you've tapped into something that's involving the African Union, and the African Union, you will need a voice to go to the African Union and say, this is the voice we have. Can we say something? Can we also stand and say, on a decision like this, we will make a stand on it?
Absolutely.
Other than because of the amount of money that goes, remittance that goes to Africa, their voice will be heard and they will listen, regardless of what they don't want to hear sometimes.
Depending on that. He who pays the piper calls the tune. China has taught us, Europeans have taught us. It's merely to learn the lessons. The difference is we have virtuous intent,
now,
as opposed to China and Europeans.
The Jews have a bigger say, and you said this at the beginning, and I'd already seen it. Anyway, they have a bigger say in what goes on in Israel. And that's, at the moment, why the current Prime Minister is still in office, because the outsiders, he has such high support from those outside. And that's
because
why
he represents their interest.
Their interest,
irrespective of his criminal activity.
Exactly. Now, how is this going to be achieved when we're looking at an African continent that is already divided? That African Union, which already, me and my producer today, we are speaking about the lady who was representing us in New York, who had to be sent back because of the interests from outside, because of what she said and so on. I wouldn't want to go in details of that. But the union itself is divided over this.
And we also understand that there was a North African who was the president at the time who fired her.
Now, APAC is going to have a big way in which, if it is to convince Africa, if it's to have such a big say, I'm just trying to find out how are you going to go in there, because so many people have tried to go in there, but because of the various countries that are, each country has a say, and it's difficult. Even the EU sometimes doesn't listen to itself.
Absolutely.
Now, how is this one going? How are they going to reach into APAC?
So I'm going to ask you a question. So remember, I speak to you about being a reverse engineer.
Yeah.
So I look at what works,
what doesn't work,
quantifying it, deconstructing it,
yeah,
and then reconstructing it, right? Okay. So then I ask
that would be
myself,
interesting seeing how you do it in Africa, in an
So then
African,
I
in an
ask
African
myself-
context, yeah.
so then I ask myself,
Yeah.
what reason did every African leader go to China?
Ah.
Okay, I have a clue, small clue.
Yeah.
Then I ask myself, what reason did every African leader go to Russia?
Yeah.
No problem, I have a small clue. What reason did every African leader come to Britain as the so-called Commonwealth, where the actual wealth of the commoners isn't so common?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So what do we say? He who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless.
As you
so
said, sir.
Once you quantify the economics of the diaspora nationally in Britain, well, then you duplicate the model in handing off to delivery partners globally. Remember, I spoke to you about a crypto coin.
Yeah, you did.
The Sable Ascent coin.
You did, yeah.
Well, now we get to circumvent the Yiddish SWIFT system, right? So in essence, we could call this on its own blockchain our own central banking system, true or false?
China wanting a what? A central?
We could call it our own central banking system.
Okay.
You see, if you have a cryptocurrency on its own blockchain, you have a wallet. Institutions can have a wallet. Your family and the continent can have a wallet.
Yeah.
And we have freedom of money movement globally.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And it can't be frozen by Yiddish tricks.
No, it don't.
We're
It
good.
can't. It can't. Yeah.
So now we have something with balances, measures and checks that we know is universally safe,
Yeah.
that we know our banking delivery partners can tap into, that we can underwrite with assets, which means there's very little fluctuation,
Yeah.
and it's a global vehicle. And then we go to our family in the African diaspora region.
Yeah.
Well, you see, now the diaspora region has weight behind it, economic weight.
Yeah.
Not hyperbole and intellectual masturbation. Something tangible. Economic weight of the diaspora.
Yeah.
So you see, now when they represent the interests of the diaspora who act as a nation, 1.2 trillion US, 350 billion United Kingdom, and you add to that territory by territory as a war of attrition. When Nigeria produces 1 billion, you see, now we have the attention of everybody, right? Okay. Now it comes, how does everybody in the African Union plug into the diaspora region?
Yeah.
So that when we have returnees and investors, they purchase land once. When they invest in economic opportunities, they're not going to be fleeced because we have balances, measures and checks to protect them.
Yeah.
So first of all, the arduous journey of creating the institution that's going to represent the interests of diasporans, because we know the economic wealth just based on the remittances.
Of course, yeah.
Now remember, we're going to live our lives and send money home. What happens when we actually seek to repatriate and invest? That is an economic mountain.
It is, yeah.
He who pays the piper calls the tune. And unlike the Chinese, you don't have a 500-page contract which says we're going to take your shipping ports if
you default, yeah.
Because it's not a loan, it's direct investment, which increases or decreases your GDP.
Yeah.
Question: it increases or decreases your GDP?
It increases it.
Okay.
Yeah, it increases it.
God bless.
That's your point.
It's there to be made.
It's there to be made. The practical side of it has to be made. Now,
it has to be practical economics based on an African ecosystem. You see, this is what I have done. In the beginning of my life, I would have a business partner, had very little experience. I said, lived experience, there's no substitute for. So now I look at the cliff's edge. On either side of the cliff's edge is a rope.
Yeah.
My partner's holding the rope, we got a foot like that. He's holding the rope, he's got his foot. It behooves you to keep an equal weight there. Because we rely on each other.
Yeah.
You see, in the universal laws of reciprocity, must be practiced by Africans, not just everybody else.
Of course, yeah.
Now, if you eat me, you can eat me once. But when we have a relationship based on reciprocity, we now have something that can go on for perpetuity.
Yeah, because
that is economic power. So now, when Africans are assassinated by state-sponsored hitmen, otherwise known as law enforcement, you no longer shooting a black man. We're not Palestinians. Now we are African diasporans, and you have a weight that will come down on your nation.
Yeah.
That's the key.
One other area which I didn't see in your constitution, and which you're probably not tapping it, but which is very good to tap it because there's a lot of money in it. The sports, footballers from Africa are coming into Europe, and there's a lot of money.
Yes.
I should say, the Adam West, the Kanus, the Drogbas, and there's so many of them now, and each year the number is growing. They're brewed in Africa. The French have got even camps in Senegal, and
Arsenal was testimony to that 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know. So the point I'm trying to say is that APAC doesn't have an area inside where it's saying, look, we're going to look at the sports, people coming, the human resource. I look at that as a part of the human resource, because the human resource is what has made China what it is today. Now, if Africa looks at her human resources, even those that are still in Africa, and those that are here in one way or another, and you getting involved, or the organization getting involved with the professional footballers or professional athletes running or professional, anybody doing sports, basketballers, there's a lot of money there.
There's a lot of money.
Is there any...
However,
look, is there any way
we're not going to become football intermediaries. There's lots of fish in that water. This is crowded water. We live in a blue ocean space. The whole point of the trust is that you could donate that as any high net worth individual within your interests. So if we have the African diaspora region, and I just said to you, he who pays the piper calls the tune, and you have high net worth African individuals, be they footballers, be they a Dangote, be they
actors,
entrepreneurs, irrespective of their profession, with our tax accountants, you make a donation which you offset against taxation. Now, if you're a high net worth individual, we know that's going to be a substantial payment. So forget about your real earnings, which some footballers do now. Just your offsettable donation against taxation is enough for us to make a powerful dent in what the Chinese competition are doing and the European competition are doing. Because remember, we're going to go with that war chest and not only purchase commercial freeholds in each of the territories, so that we have bases where anybody lands. So take, for instance, you need a town hall, or you say this is a high commission, and we go and purchase these £10 million, euro buildings across the globe. Anytime any of these guys are doing business from any of the nations, this is where you stay.
All right,
This is where you live. This is where you do trade. Similarly, we bring that money home and we set up the trade and enterprise buildings. Ghana, Nigeria, Mali, you name them. Now, what do they become? They become, what do you have here? You have a trilateral commission. Do we have our African trilateral commissions?
No, we don't.
We don't. Is it about time we thought about financing those? Because then we change the terms that trade is done under. So now you can't just land on the ground with the silent helicopter blades.
No.
And
you
pick
can't.
up resources and leave.
No.
Because you are breaking our laws. And you see, once you have the economics there to create your trade buildings, then you say, we're going to set up a courts for reparations, for reparatory justice in Africa, the same way the Jews did it in Israel and said, you committed war crimes. We have the reparatory courts across African nations in which we are supposed to extrapolate you from here and try you there. Do you think you can just take Africans to The Hague?
No, it won't happen.
Because you made a decision to take Africans to The Hague, right?
Yeah.
And what do? You go and you arrest them and you bring them there. Are we not capable of the same?
We're capable of doing that.
We're capable of doing it. It's the ideology and then the economics. You see, once you understand the economics in the diaspora, you become very powerful about the shots you start to call. In thinking about reparatory justice. You see, remember, in order for you to capitulate as a European, you'd have to be forced, right? Force comes from a superior weight. Not from begging.
No.
Not from reason.
Of course, the spear with
superior power.
Spear power with money, obviously. Money. If you have the money.
And also security, which we won't go into, understanding the nature of security. However, your security must grow at the same rate as your wealth and influence, or you can't protect yourself. And then you have no sovereign rights.
Exactly. You don't have that. Now, these things are all well done, and
potentially
on paper, and the practical side of it is good. But the one other side, which has always been a major problem when it comes to Africa, is that somebody here in Whitehall, or somebody in Brussels, or somebody in Washington looks at something which potentially could be a danger to their income, and quickly say, like Brother Bandaka said, look, I think we need to look at who are individuals behind it. What can we do? Not necessarily, I don't mean elimination as such, but to fight it.
Why not?
Without money as a base, the chances are somewhere, somehow, somebody is going to fight it. And when he fights it, because of the financial backing he has, the chances are it might not work. So is there a mechanism in place, which Mark Garvey once said, we need to make sure that if this one goes away, another one is going to come in, so that at the end of the day, you're going to find it extremely difficult, because that has been Africa's biggest problem.
Absolutely.
We don't have continuity of, the
we
leaders.
Don't have a legacy program.
That we don't have that. Now, you guys behind it, have you got that in mind, that if this thing happened, there is point B and there's point A, how are you going to fight that?
I will never go into the finer details of security.
Okay.
But the first thing I said to you is that your security must grow at the same rate as your wealth and influence. So understanding the nature of a Blackwater in the United States, private security, if you understand this concept very well, in that anybody can set up a private security and recruit from the military, it's as much as you need to know.
Exactly.
And then you don't need to go into the logistics of that. Because racism is a team sport, which is not just economic. It's not just a socio-economic sport. It's also a military-industrial complex. Now, unless you are taking the time to build out your own private security venture at the same rate, which is of a global nature, then you can't protect yourself. And then all of this becomes hyperbole and intellectual masturbation. So I revert back to what I always say. Your security must grow at the same rate as your wealth and your influence. However, I would never speak about the logistics of security, because we're all aware of what security is. The CIA was a private cabal of men who were wealthy, who had a particular ideology based on their European supremacy. Why would the US government accept this body, which was a private institution? Because it was politically expedient for them to realize a similar objective. This is an adversary here using somebody for black bag ops. Over there, like the Bay of Pigs, unfortunately, was unsuccessful. And when you criticize that said cabal of men, your contract was cancelled. Instant memory loss.
We've got quite a number of people that have phoned us. We're coming towards the end of the program, and Ronnie Wava says he likes the program. It's great. Vanessa is also telling me that she's watching and she's enjoying everything you have to say. And quite a number of others that have said, well done, well done, the TV, well done, Stephen. It's quite interesting. Now, we've got less than 4 or 5 minutes to go before the program comes to an end. And everything that we've talked about is interesting. Everything is quite good. And the way that you are going to market, the way the APAC is being marketed, is one of the first things that I did, is to try and see how many people are coming in, how many people know about this organization, and the fact that the whole APAC is at its infancy stages. I've even gone as far as seeing the African Union to see what the interest could be with the African Union, which is quite there, but they are looking for they're waiting for the numbers. I want us to end on a note of marketing, because
so
it's a good
I'll say
strategy.
very quickly. First of all,
everybody
should be aware of the website.
Can we begin with the youth, among the youth? Say, for example.
We will, but the first thing I want to do is make people aware of the website. So www.adpac.net. So the first thing we've released is a number of census. So we've got an eligible voter census.
Okay.
We have a national population census, so that we can quantify our numbers and then break them down into the boroughs and the regions where we live. Now, in terms of youth, we have an entire youth wing, and our agenda is to train 20 young leaders year in, year out, who will enter the world of politics, but with an African lens, not a European lens. Now, they may end up in banking, they may end up in the entrepreneurial space, they may end up in politics, but they will have had a socio-political training that actually enables them to understand the landscape and the reality of this landscape, and how to circumvent the traps and actually take advantage and navigate the waters of this landscape.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting.
And it's necessary, because you spoke about something very important. And we don't necessarily create a succession plan.
Okay.
So now, if you create 20 of these leaders a year, 5 years in, you have 100 of these young leaders.
Of course. Yeah.
Now you're changing the face of a generation. Now, not only that, but they actually stand to support each other as an alumni. Now, when you can go into an alumni, there is no question of if you're going to support me, it's how you're going to support me. Because the answer is always yes, based on the ethics that you've gained from the training that you've received.
Okay, that's great. I have to say thank you extremely. Thank you very, very much. If I could go into all the extreme of what we've discussed, and I do hope that, I wish the organization all the best, and I wish all Africans would actually join. So this is
for all Africans.
It's in our interest. Although I wanted to say something about the Caribbean and the other people, the African Americans.
I'm just going to say something very quickly about the Caribbean, because don't discount that any territory, we are the African diaspora, and the same relationship that we're creating with the African diaspora region, we're going to create with CARICOM.
Okay, CARICOM,
CARICOM.
Yeah, that's the
so every region where we are going to close those skills, personnel, and organization gaps.
Okay.
And for anyone who wants to get in contact with us, my personal email is d.okai@adpac.net.
Okay, we can find that. I just want to, once again, thank you very much for coming to us.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience.
And telling us all about it. And I do wish the best of luck for APAC.
Thank you.
Thank you for viewing us, and I hope we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you, and may God bless you.